Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. Thank you for coming. And don't worry and don't leave. I'm only up here for a minute. Okay? I know you're used to doing that when I get up. We're so glad that you've come tonight. I just like to start our program tonight with a prayer and then a couple of remarks. Just bow with me. God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for each person that has come tonight and for Joe for being here with us and safe travel for all. We've had a heavy week this week with events in our community, and we just lift up those who are hurting tonight. Some have been affected and unable to come by some of these events, but I just pray that your Holy Spirit will be with them constantly as they go through such a difficult valley. Also pray that you'll bless what's discussed here tonight, that we would learn and that we would be better equipped to do things in your honor, to live a life that honors you and brings glory to you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. 1 Corinthians 10:31, which is the basis of the first devotion in a Trainer Joe 21-day series, says this: so whatever you eat or drink, or whatever you do everything to the glory of God. You know, whether I am at work, or whether I'm at play, or whether I'm with my family, or I'm in worship, I need to have a balance in my life. And I have to remember that each of those four things give me the opportunity to bring glory to God. And they give you those same opportunities. Each of us are in the middle of that conundrum, making choices with how we spend our time, trying to find a healthy balance and to be all God wants me and wants you to be. If I can be healthy, I can experience more for myself and realize more potential. But more importantly, I can have the energy and time to help somebody else. My goal, I'd love to live to be 100. Wouldn't you all? But my goal is to be healthy with whatever years I have and to be active. That would make me happier than living to be 100. Trainer Joe program embraces these things that I'm sharing here about balance in your life and about looking at yourself and making yourself healthy. His health revival and his preaching, listening to him preach, will help to motivate you. I think it will tonight, just in your first hour around him. I know it certainly has me in the last couple of months. So, this is my angel, Eugenia O'Connell.
Embarrassing me, but I'm just so excited to see so many people here. You know, when I first had the idea of having Joe to come over, I was doubting, can we do this? Will anybody come? And I just had all these doubts. And then I realized, where doubts come from. They come from the evil one. And, John said to me, just do it and trust in it. And so I thank each one of you for coming out tonight to hear what he has to say. And I think you'll be blessed by it. One of the things that kind of sets this program apart, or it has for me, is that he brings faith into it. He's not afraid to talk about his faith, and, that has been so important and just really has motivated me. And I started in December, and everybody was like, you are crazy, because nobody starts a diet program in December. You're going to fail. But, I lost 9 pounds in December, and that was like amazing to be able to do that in a month that's so hard, when there's cookies laying everywhere. So, one of the things about, the faith in the fridge is that I am one who has always run to the fridge if anything happened. If I get bad news, I am looking for the Oreos. And, this program, really helps you to put food where it should be and to use your faith and our faith in what God can do for us instead of the fridge. So I'm thankful to Joe for coming all the way and to see us and to talk to us tonight. And before we have him to come up, I'm just going to leave you with this. It's a comment by Christine Kane, and she says, "What we give up will never be as good as what God gives us," and that's true. So now I bring to you Trainer Joe, and we thank you so much.
Thank you. Testing, testing. All right, well, thank you, John. That was a great few words there, very fitting, and Gina as well. I'd like to thank Pastor Daniel, who I thought was just a kid when I walked in. Oh, you're the pastor. It's awesome. I love it. I do love it, and I appreciate it, because not all churches are going to be open to this sort of thing. You'll hear more about that in just a second on the pictures that I have in here. But on the way here, I'm not on the road as much as I would like to be. I like doing these a lot, but I do an online program, and we have an app and that, so it's usually from my office where I do these from. But on the way here, I was listening to music, and man, y'all know who Phil Wickham is? I'm listening to him, and man, his voice getting so high. I'm like, man, I'm getting excited. And then I heard another song called, what was the one I said? Not Yahweh. Like the one word, Jehovah, or Jireh. Jireh. That one. And then the one, Strong, came on from Ann Wilson. And I was like ready to run through a brick wall, and I was just getting so excited. I'm like, I think I might be too excited when I get there. So I called my wife. I said, honey, I think you need to calm me down a little bit. She said, yes, because sometimes you sound angry, and sometimes you're just too loud. She said, you need to be more like that painter with the hair. Bob Ross, she said, it's just more soothing and all because you're going to run people off. And she's really serious, but at the same time, I'm like, but it's just natural to be excited. So I did pray that I wouldn't say things I wasn't supposed to, and I told Gina I would try not to embarrass her. But having said that, a lot of people say, no, I like that. I want you to be real. I don't want you to sugarcoat it. So here we go. This is not easy for most folks, okay? It's a frustrating battle. Health and weight loss, there's so much out there. So I walk you through a process that teaches you how to look at food and weight loss in a different way so you can lose weight and keep it off. A different way, like with a different mindset, with a renewed mind. Right? And that can be a tremendous help. I do this lots of places. I've been invited to Lexmark several times. I have a lot of fun over there. Valvoline in Lexington as well. Churches. This was a church in Frankfurt. And I remember the pastor, I had been working with the pastor who lost some weight, and he said, I want you to come to my church, and I'm going to interview you at our services on Sunday. And I was like, great. He actually said, because he really liked it, he said, I want your program to be part of our discipleship. He said, that's going to be part of it. Well, that sounds great. But when I got there and we did our thing, there was one lady there who eventually came up to me. She said, when you first came to our church, I was like, why is this guy at our church? I'm not here to learn how to lose weight. And she was sitting there thinking this. And I'll tell you, she had over 200 pounds that she would like to have lost, but she was like, I don't come to church to hear about this. And then she said, I hope however much this thing costs, it's a lot. So when I go home and tell my husband, he's going to say, honey, we can't afford that. She said, but then when I heard how much it was, I was like, oh no, it's cheap. He's going to tell me I can do it. She lost 212 pounds in 14 months. So after all that, she was kind of glad that we came to her church. It's a big deal. I've got a book that you can get on Amazon. You can also get it through my website, but it's better just to get it on Amazon. It's no more expensive, and you get it like the next day. So that's what I recommend if you want the book. This helps with the mindset. How many of you have read my book? Several of you. Good, thank you. Appreciate it. So I was thinking about now who's going to be here tonight, and what I came up with was some were going to say, I've just always been bigger. As far as I can look back, I've always felt like I was heavy. So I thought maybe I'll go and see what you have to say. Or some people are like, it was just very gradual for me. A couple pounds a year, but then one day I couldn't fit in any of my clothes. Have you ever noticed that? Couldn't fit in any of my clothes. I had one guy, he said, none of my shirts fit. And then there's some that something changed. Had a baby 20 years ago. had an accident, got sick. I was talking to, I think it was it Timmy that said he lost his dad? Is that you? Yeah. And that suddenly, man, everything's different now, and that sometimes will cause difficulty. And then some, I think I need to feel better. I probably should feel better than I do. There's maybe some changes I could make. Maybe this guy's got some ideas for that. And then some just, I go to this church, probably ought to be supportive of what they're doing. And I think that's great. Even if that's your reason, I think that's fine. And then some, your spouse invited you. Occasionally that happens. Honey, Trainer Joe's coming to town. The Johnsons will be there. Maybe we should go too. Hear what he's got to say. I did have one guy, I was doing a program at a real estate office, and there was a guy there. And I asked, what brings you here, to several people, and he just pointed to his wife. He said, I had a heart attack a couple years ago. She made me come to this. So I'm kind of curious, is there any other reason other than those up there? Anybody say, I'm here for a different reason than that, or did I cover it? The pastor, yeah. I'm the pastor, I have to be here, kind of thing. Fair enough, I forgot about that one. All right, let's get into the rules. We got 10 rules for weight loss. Thought about calling them 10 commandments, since I do love going to churches. I've been a believer since high school, and it's in a lot of ways easier for me to do this here than it is at Lexmark, but it doesn't change much. It changes a little bit. It's funny, I heard Mark Levin. Raise your hand if you know who Mark Levin is. He gets angry. He's on Fox News a lot, and he gets angry and loud, and he'll cuss every now and then, but he was on the James Dobson show. On the way here, I heard him on there. Anybody hear him on there? And he was so calm and nice, and he didn't get loud. You can change your tone a little bit depending where you are. But rule number 1, it won't happen by accident. It won't happen by accident. It might happen by snackcident, but it doesn't happen by accident. You're going to have to be intentional. If you want to lose weight, you'll need to be intentional most of the time. Occasionally somebody doesn't know why they're losing weight, but sometimes it's because they're ill, or something happened to them that is causing it that maybe they didn't even want to happen. But normal weight loss, you're going to have to be intentional about that. Kurt is a pastor in Lexington. Most people in Lexington know Kurt. He's 6'9", dad's a pastor, he's been there forever. Just the guy that he's nice to everybody, never says anything mean. I'm like, how are you a pastor? Because you got to correct people every now and then, don't you? And I cannot imagine him correcting or anything like that. But his wife knew what I did, and I got an email from her, and she said, hey, do you still help people with weight loss? I said, yeah. I said, you want to lose weight? She said, no, it's for my husband. I said, great. She said, he'll meet you at Panera, and we picked a time, and I said, great, I'll be there. So I get there, and in comes 6'9" Kurt, and he comes over, and he sits down, and he's very busy, very busy. When I went to friend him on Facebook, he had too many friends, like 5,000 max, and I told him, I said, I tried to friend you. He said, don't worry, somebody will cancel me, and then you can come in. And I was like, great, I want to be your friend. But he sits down, and he looks at me, he says, so what am I doing here? He said, I brought my credit card. My wife told me I had an appointment with you. I said, yeah, he wants you to lose some weight. He's like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. That was basically how it went. And he did. You can kind of tell, can't you? On the left to the right. And I'm talking about being intentional. And Kurt said to me, he had a lot of wisdom. He said, Joe, he said, I'm very intentional about pretty much everything in my life. He said, I need to be. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a pastor. A lot lot going on. He said, I'm very intentional about my prayer life. I'm very intentional about my family, very intentional about what I do at church and all that we have going on there. He said, but you know what? He said, the food thing was total by accident. He said, I didn't have a plan for that. He said, and I've learned that a life lived by accident is not a life well lived. And I thought that was good. Isn't that good? Some things we just can't let accidentally happen. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should. Otherwise, I fear that after preaching to others, I myself might be disqualified. We've read that before, and we've laughed at where the other version that says, I buffet my body, right? It's like, no, it's not buffet, it's buffet my body. But what is he talking about? Now, who said that? Paul. I discipline my body. Is that a requirement? I don't know. Paul did it. He thought it was important. Would you like to be like Paul? Why not? What does that mean to discipline my body? I was thinking about that the last couple of days. Like, does that mean saying no to a donut? I believe it does. More often than we say yes, I think what that might mean is you say no, thank you. What else does it mean? Or instead of that, if you have something better, I'll listen. Does that mean that I probably ought to exercise with some regularity? I think it probably does. I'm willing to be corrected on that. And I don't mean to be trite with the word, but it is given to us for our instruction, for teaching, for righteousness. So I'm applying it best I know how here. And when Paul says, I discipline my body, I buffet my body, and I think about what does that mean for me and for us, I think it means oftentimes when I want a second helping, I probably need to learn how to say no thank you because I need to buffet my body. Rule number 2. Food's always going to be one of our enjoyments, so we can relax a little. Food is enjoyable. For most of us, it's available, it's plentiful, it's desirable. Probably going to be that way forever. However, we're going to have to accept some reasonable boundaries. Is that fair? We went to Red Lobster. We had my mother-in-law who recently passed, she at 92. My family, a nephew, it was a celebration of some kind, somebody's birthday or something, and we all ordered our food. And then they brought out these baskets of biscuits. What kind of biscuits they got there? Cheddar Bay. Cheddar Bay. That's correct. Not just cheddar. Cheddar Bay. Whatever the Bay part is, does make them a little bit better, I would agree. So we got these biscuits, and these biscuits, they have a really nice aroma to them, and they're warm. You can almost see the steam coming off of them, and everybody's grabbing them up. There were 2 baskets there, and my mother-in-law got hers, and of course put 2 in her purse, right? And then she looks at me, and she said, Joe, these biscuits are wonderful. Aren't you going to have a Cheddar Bay biscuit? And I said, well, Mimi, I know they're wonderful. I've had them. I said, but I just ordered a salmon dinner. The salmon's probably going to have some kind of sweet bourbon sauce on it. The broccoli's probably going to have butter on it. The potato I ordered is probably going to have butter and sour cream. And then I got a salad that's going to have real ranch dressing, cheddar cheese sprinkled on top, and croutons. I don't know about the bacon or not. And croutons. And my plan is to eat every bite. It's not a diet meal. It's normal. I didn't ask for low-calorie ranch dressing. Normal. Healthy, mostly, but normal meal. I said, Mimi, if I eat all that, where do you think I'm going to put the Cheddar Bay biscuits? They go somewhere. They don't just go in and dissolve and disappear. I'm going to wear them. I'm Trainer Joe. Said, I got to be able to tuck in my shirt. I need to represent. Because who am I? Trainer Joe. Who are you? We all need to represent, don't we? We all need to represent. Not a thing wrong with Cheddar Bay biscuits. I've had them. I like them. I'll have another one sometime. But we've got to decide what's reasonable for me. Where's it going to end for me? I remember one lady I was talking about, when we eat things, if we don't use it, we store it. And I said, fat is just stored energy. And I was at another group, and sometimes I don't tell the answers. I ask. And I said, fat is just stored. And the lady right there, I said, stored. And she said, forever? I said, no, it's energy. It's stored energy. Everything's permissible for me, but not all things are beneficial. Who's saying this? Paul again, isn't it? Everything's permissible. Cheddar Bay biscuits are fine. Does this apply to that? I think it does. There's no food that's a sin to eat that one. I don't believe there's any food that's a sin to eat, in my opinion. But it's that last part. All foods are fine. Go in there and have whatever there's nothing off limits. But the last part, but I will not be enslaved by anything and brought under its power, allowing it to control me. In the Amplified, it expounds a little bit like that. That's all. Have what you want. Don't worry about it. Eat. You can have cheesecake, but don't let cheesecake have you. That's all. Sometimes it's hard to know. Does it have me? I'm not sure if it has me. Well, we can help you figure that out. If it has you or not. And if you didn't know what Paul looked like, there he is. I got a call from Shelley. This is Shelley. She was in the parking lot of her doctor's office in Lexington. She said, I just left my doctor. She said, my doctor told me she could increase my meds or I could lose weight, and she gave me your card. She said, what do I need to do? And I said, well, I'll meet you at Panera, and we set a time, and we sat down at Panera. When she got up to go to the restroom, she had to hold on to the table and rock a couple of times, and then like that to get up. She doesn't have to do that anymore because she said when we were sitting there on our first visit, she said, Joe, I'm going to do what you tell me. She said, I'm 69. She said, I want the decade of my 70s to be lived at a healthy weight. Man, I get excited when somebody's serious about it. They're like, I'm going to do what you tell me. This is what I want. Tell me what to do. That's a lot of fun for me. That's not always the case, and that's okay, but that's a lot of fun for me. She did it. She's in the right picture. She's still about 15 pounds from her goal, which she reached. But you notice she's already smiling. And I'm going to tell you something. I give every one of y'all permission to smile now. You can be happy at the beginning of your journey. You don't have to wait. You can know, you know what, I'm going to do it. You ought to be happy. If you just say, you know what, I'm going to do this, be happy because it's probably going to happen. If you really want to do it, it's probably going to happen. She's full-time employee. Grandkids, she gets up and she fixes their breakfast and takes them to school. She's busy. She wasn't just sitting at home thinking, now that I don't have anything going on, I'm going to get healthy and lose weight. No, she has as much going on as she's ever had going on. Bob Ross. Thank Bob Ross. Rule number 3. It's not your metabolism. Now, sorry to disappoint. Who in here was convinced? I thought it was. Anybody? Okay. I was at a a church retreat, a cabin somewhere, and you bring enough food for a month, and you're going to be there for 2 nights. We just had food was everywhere. And I was just sitting there and listening to everybody's chatting and having conversations. And I couldn't help. I heard these 2 ladies talking, and one lady said, when I turned 50, she said, my metabolism just went away. And her friend said, same thing. She said, happened to me too. I don't know what it is. It's you turn 50, and it just like it goes away. And later that evening, out comes all this food, and we were playing spoons or something with cards around the table, and out comes the chips. And both those ladies with no metabolism were enjoying the chips at 10 o'clock at night. And I thought about it, and I said, I wonder, is it the metabolism? And I was like, no, it's the chips. But when you're sitting there and you're like, well, everybody else is eating them. Sounds good. Kind of hungry. My metabolism's against me. Why can't I have chips too? You can. Or you can buffet your body. You can. We are free to have chips. I saw in the bathroom on my way out. We want grace, not perfection. I'm into that. There is grace. Freedom is not really the ability to have the things you want. It's about having the ability to have what you most deeply want. And when we can realize, you know what? I really want some chips right now. But if we get to the place where, but there's something I want more deeply than that. That empowers us. It's a freedom. Yeah, you can have chips, but you know what you're also free to do? Not have them. It's not, I can't have them. You're free to have them. You're free to say no thanks and look like the weirdo at the table that's not eating with everybody else. That's okay. Sometimes you need to give yourself permission to be the odd person. That's okay. We can have the metabolism excuse. And I'm not saying it doesn't affect you. It does. Lots of things affect you. But how many excuses do you think you need to never lose a pound? How many excuses do you need? Anybody? You just need one. You have a lot. You can pick from a many, but all you need is one. Anybody in here, let's say you want to lose 30 pounds. Anybody in here that loses 30 pounds in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year, we know one thing. You dealt with every single excuse. If you want to lose 30 pounds and it doesn't happen in the next year, what do we know? You had at least one. You may have had 20, but you just needed one. I twisted my ankle. They overloaded me at work. I can't lose weight now. Lost my keys. I had to eat 4 pizzas. I lost my keys. Solar eclipse is coming next month. Or it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Can't do this on a Tuesday. I'm just saying, you don't need some elaborate. It's whatever you want. You can choose. Say, this is why it didn't happen for me. And I'm not saying that didn't play a role. I'm saying to do this, you got to overcome every one of them. Just like you did to graduate from the 8th grade or college or whatever you did. You had to overcome everything to do anything you've ever done that was meaningful. Isn't that true? So it's the chips. This is Maria. She lost about 65 pounds. And I already had this guy named Timmy, so not picking on Timmy. So Maria on the left eats the same amount of food as Maria on the right and the 4th grader, Timmy. And I say it that way because I think sometimes we just feel like, well, I just ate a little too much. No, you ate Timmy's. Right? You had yours, and then there was some here. They brought another basket to the table, and you're like, that ain't yours. That's Timmy's. And if you eat Timmy's, guess who's going to go with you everywhere? Timmy is. You ride the bike, he's going with you. You go to the beach, he's going with you. When you're older and you're just trying to get up out of the chair, he's there with you. Okay, I'm moving on. Don't worry, I'm moving on quick. Oh. Remember growing up, your parents would try to get you to eat by saying they're starving kids. Where were the starving kids? Africa, wasn't it? That's what I thought. Was it China or Africa? I think it was Africa. What? Ethiopia. Yeah, Ethiopia. I was trying to think of something a little more obscure. Yeah. The starving kids in Ethiopia, eat your food. And I'm thinking, you know what? For our culture today, go ahead and send it to them. Because you sure don't need to be eating it. Right? It's the Ethiopians. Send it on. But then we're like, well, I don't want to waste anything. Because we've got to change our mindset on waste. I mean, I mentioned my mother-in-law. And years ago, she broke her femur, and she was in the hospital, and we were there. And she was recovering, and had my captive audience. And she's always kind. And tell me about your work, Joe. You know what I do, me, the weight loss thing. She says, I need to lose some weight. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, you may not have broken your femur had you been able to step off the step without, I didn't say that, but she said, so Joe, give me a weight loss tip while she was laying there recovering. And I said, well, Mimi, I said, I know one of the things you struggle with is the frugality. She's the one with the biscuits in the purse, right? So she's frugal. She's not going to waste anything. Literally. She can't throw dead batteries away. I mean, that's how bad it is. Well, keep these. Something will suck the juice out of these for a different machine or something. No, throw them away. I don't want to put them in a remote and it not work. So I said, Mimi, your frugality is not making this any easier. I said, for example, imagine we're at your home for a dinner and we all eat, and then you pass around a plate of cookies and we all leave and there's one cookie left sitting at the table and you've had all you really want. I said, now, Mimi, here's the issue. I'm going to give you two choices, but I'm not going to give you the choice you want. Okay? You can either eat the cookie or you can throw the cookie away. And let's assume you want to lose some weight, and you already had a cookie even, right? But now here we are. You can eat the cookie or you can throw the cookie away. I said, so, Mimi, what are you going to do? Can't save it. You can't put it in the fridge. You can eat it or you can throw it away. You know what she said? She said, I'm not going to answer that question. She couldn't bear it. Her problem is not that she's too frugal. Her problem is that she doesn't care enough about her health. And I don't mean to be dishonoring. I'm just telling you. Because you can waste it or you can waste it. What's worse? Wasting it or wasting it? I don't care how frugal you are. Sure, it don't make sense to eat it when you don't need it. Kid stuff laying around the table, just a half a hot dog, I'm not going to throw it away. Right? You're not a garbage disposal. And I know we have all done that. Well, it's just a little bit. I mean, this is what I do, so now I'm pretty on it, right? I mean, now my wife irritates her sometimes because I'll leave a little bit of something. She's like, would you please finish that? I'm like, honey, not a garbage can. She doesn't enjoy that. She did grow up with Mimi. Whoever said that. Who will free me from this life that is dominated by sin and death? Thank God the answer is in Jesus Christ our Lord. As believers, we have something that other people don't have. We have Jesus. The answer is in Jesus Christ our Lord. The answer is not in my formula. I did pray a lot. I said, Lord, you need to help me with this. I was in another industry for a long time. And I transitioned 12 years ago. It's like, Lord, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just know that a lot of people struggle with this. I've struggled with lots of things, but this hasn't been my thing. Can I be a guy that helps people with this? I heard a preacher. I went to my son's church, and the preacher said, hey, if you're not sure what it is you're to do in your life, consider the possibility that the thing that ticks you off might be the thing that makes you tick. And I had family, friends, my dad, all these people that were obese and struggling with their food and on these meds, and I'm like, I don't think it's supposed to be that difficult. And I prayed about it. Lord, I feel like the Lord gave me a lot of insights into what we share now. Rule number 4, hunger is not your enemy. I had a lady I was working with once, and she told me, she said, well, I'm embarrassed to tell you. She said, I eat on average 4 of those Cliff Bars. Raise your hand if you've had a Cliff Bar. Yeah, I like a peanut butter chocolate chip. Before they had 8 zillion bars, that was kind of the bar, Cliff Bars. You know how many calories are in a Cliff Bar? 2+, 220, something like that. She said, Joe, I eat on average 4 Cliff Bars a day between meals to avoid getting hungry. She said, I'm embarrassed to tell you. It's our culture. Noticing, I ate 30 minutes ago, but I feel like there's a little space in my stomach. Right? There's a little room. I could eat a Cliff Bar right now and fill that up. We're Ferraris. We need to put fuel in the Ferrari. But what do? We put that gas thing in there like we're filling up a Ford F-150. It won't hold that much. You're a Ferrari. And if you keep putting fuel in like it's a Ford F-150, you're going to have to add another fuel tank. That makes sense? So you got a Ferrari with the spare fuel tank on it, with the fuel that you didn't need, and you're driving around. Now you're imbalanced because you got a fuel tank, so you get another fuel tank over here to get the balance on it. Your Ferrari. You need to feed the Ferrari, and when it's full, it's full. You can drive till it's empty. It's fine. There's a gas station everywhere. But I don't think there's another gas station until I get to Tallahassee. I better fill it up. No, there's one in Mount Sterling. They're every few miles. So we don't have to avoid being hungry, is the point, the main point here. I was watching the 600-Pound Life, and when people do my program, I'm like, watch that. We're all in there somewhere to some degree. We are. And I want to step back just a second. I'm always nervous to some degree, and I'm grateful when a pastor says, yeah, let's do this at our church. And I know you're all maybe more open to new things than some like this. And like the lady that was at the church, like, why is he here? And I realize that. And I know I come on a little bit different than your dietitian at the hospital. Okay? They don't do this. So this is how I do it. I was watching the 600-Pound Life. Dr. No, y'all know who he is? It's Noah Kolowski or something like that. It's just not Dr. No or Dr. Now? Dr. No? And he always says, hey, how y'all doing today? When they come in, and when one lady's in the hospital and she's laying there, and he's saying, how you doing? And she says, well, not too good. She said, I can't eat the food they're serving. She didn't like it or whatever. She said, I don't eat that kind of meat. I show this. Y'all remember seeing it? Remember seeing that little clip? And she weighed 600 pounds. And he looked at her, he said, "You're going to be okay." He said, "You're not going to fade away." She said, "Well, I got to eat something." You know what he said? He said, "No." He said, "You've eaten food that belonged to the next 4 years ahead of time." He is brutal. You don't need a thing. But we think, I'm going to die if I miss my midday snack. Don't we? Where's my snack? It's not in my purse. Yeah, this Starbucks. Much less a whole meal or a day, which is one of the cool things about intermittent fasting. How many of you have done any intermittent fasting? It helps with that. It helps us realize, you know what, I've learned I'm going to be okay if I don't eat for 16 hours. Or if you've done a spiritual fast. How many of you have done a spiritual fast, at least 24 hours? Yeah, you realize, I didn't eat anything for 24 hours, and I lived. Now, you had a pint of Ben & Jerry's 10 minutes before the fast started, and a pizza and 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's right when it was over, but you did it. That's typically how we fast. Hunger is not your enemy. Learn to embrace it. Fruit of the Spirit includes, what's that first one? Self-control, or the only else is fruit of the Spirit is self-control. We have it. It's a fruit of the Spirit. You have enough. This takes us to rule number 5. You don't need more of it. You don't need more self-control than you have right now. You have self-control. I was thinking on the way driving here, I was thinking, okay, if there was a bomb in my car that was set to go off if I hit 65 miles an hour, you think I'd drive 64? Remember that movie Speed with Keanu Reeves? Wasn't it like that? And they're in the bus, and if he goes slower than 55 or something like that, the bomb's going to go off. It's like, so let's say you struggle speeding. How many of you in here have had a ticket in the last 20 years? Be honest. Okay, everybody. No, some of you I know have never had a ticket. You're so proud of yourself. I understand it. That's good. But let's say you kind of drive too fast, and the mechanic does a favor, says, okay, I got it. There's a bomb will go off if you go more than 5 miles over the speed. Let's say if you go 75. Is it willpower that's keeping you under 75 miles an hour? No. You got the same willpower you had before they put that in your car. Willpower is not your issue. You need a deeper belief. A wavering commitment is not primarily a problem of the will. It's a problem of deficient belief. What do you say about somebody that they got that in their car and they just go, they don't even look at their speed, they just drive, they're not even thinking about it? What's going on with them? They don't believe they're a mechanic, or they don't care if they die. One of the other. It's not willpower. We need to move away from thinking, if I was just more disciplined, if I had more self-control. You have enough. But the way you believe is in the way. Behind every self-destructive thing we do is a lie that we believe. What is a lie we believe about food? Can you think of one? There's more than one. What's a lie that maybe you've believed about food? What's that? That's true. The lie would be, you got to have seconds to be okay. Does that make sense? And easy enough to make that, yeah, close enough. We got to have it. And some people say, that's the problem. I gave up cigarettes because I didn't have to have it. I could give up drinking because I didn't have to have it. Eating's different. I have to have it. Do you have to have seconds? When's the last time you really needed a second helping? This is not about making you feel bad about how you eat. This is about helping you reach your goals and look at it honestly. That's all this is. Do not leave here thinking, well, he took all the fun out of life. Glad that was free. Okay, that's not, don't do that. Let's just be real here. Yeah, it's a comfort. So it would be honest to say a second helping will bring me some comfort. But the lie is that it'll fix it. There's some truth in this oxycodone will bring me some relief. And the doctor said he wants you to take it. It's right to take it as prescribed. But you've decided, I like it even better if I double up. Okay, now we're abusing it. That's not going to fix it. As prescribed, it was healthy, it was good, it was right. When you believe the lie that says, second helping will fix something in me, we're going to keep going back, even though, no, that's a lie. It's not fixing anything. It's anesthetizing something. Food won't fix it. Or, this will make me happy. No, it'll give you momentary pleasure, long-term pleasure, long-term benefit, or long-term disappointment. We don't think about that one as much, do we? Long-term disappointment. Why can't I do this? What's the problem? We go to it for the wrong reasons. If hunger's not the problem, food's not the answer. And food won't fix it. If you had a disease, dreadful disease, the doctor said, every morning you get up at 4 a.m. and walk for 20 minutes, it keeps that disease in remission. Do you have enough willpower to do that? Is it coming down to your willpower or your belief? Do you want to live? And do you believe your doctor? That's the only thing going to determine that. All things are possible with him who has the most willpower. Doesn't say that, does it? I had a Baptist minister come to one of my groups, and we did where you keep coming back. We met 7 times, and he came back to the second meeting. He said, I almost didn't come back. He said, when you told me I had an inappropriate relationship with food, he said, I didn't really like that. He said, but I thought about it over the past few days. He said, you were right. I did. Wasn't right. Wasn't appropriate. Rule number 6 is you can't do what? You can't outrun a bad diet or your fork. You can't outrun your fork. He is ahead of it, isn't he? But fork's going to pass him up. I trained a girl for a little while. She was wanting to run that half marathon in Midway. Anybody familiar with that? Half marathon there? Yeah. And I had run track in college, and anyway, I was in a position where I could help her. And my wife and I went to watch her run the race. After training for a while, she did great. I was fascinated. Half a marathon, 13.1 miles. I was amazed at how many obese people crossed the finish line. Did well, finished, did it, trained for it. You're not going to out-exercise a bad diet. You can't do it. Oh, yeah. There it is. Can't outrun your fork. We're willing to do almost anything to be able to eat what we want. Like train for a half marathon. Deborah, who works for me, has a shirt that says, I run because I love dessert. I get it. It's funny. But it's your intake. It's not your exercise routine. For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things. Does that say exercise is useless? No. it says godliness is more important. I would agree. And your intake is more important. As people lose weight laying in the hospital, you know why? Is it because they're exercising? How are they losing weight laying in the hospital bed? Anybody? They're not eating. You lose weight when you don't eat. I'm not saying do it that way. I'm just saying let's not think, if I could just find the right workout, do not look at it that way. But having mentioned exercise, why wouldn't we exercise anyway, whether it affects our weight or not? You're not going to have appropriate fitness if you're not exercising. Regardless what you weigh, shouldn't we exercise? Don't feel a heaviness if you're not exercising. I remember I was talking to one lady, and she said, I missed my exercise yesterday. She said, that makes 10 years in a row. I get it. My own wife struggles with that. And one day she was picking up our grandson, and this has been years ago, and she picked him up. She's like, oh, I think he was like 2, right? I think about 8 pounds, and she's like, oh. And I'm like, honey, if that's oh, I said, how are you going to pick up his son when we're in our 70s? And I'm usually gentle in the way that I encourage her, but I'm like, that's what we got. Do you want to not be able to move if it's hard when you're 50? What's it going to be like? So I loved when Shelley said, I want to be in the right range in my 70s. I want to be able to stand up. Me too. Exercise and food have a symbiotic relationship. Don't you love that word? I practiced it some. Symbiotic relationship. They work together. Food tastes better, doesn't it, if you've exercised? Or remember when you were little and you were out running all day long and you come home and Mom's got dinner ready. Wee-hoo! And it was good. They work together. You eat the healthier food, suddenly you got more energy. You use that energy and you exercise. And exercise might be a 20-minute walk. That's wonderful. And then at some point you find, I'm consistent with this, and then you start doing some resistance training, and you notice sarcopenia that was hitting you and taking away your muscle starting at age 30-something. Now you're reversing that. Every one of you in here can be stronger and younger 2 years from now. Now some of you, it's going to be tougher because you're already pretty fit. You already have a routine. But you could probably pick it up a notch. I'm not saying you should. There's a book called Younger Next Year. What are they talking about? It's just saying, you could do better. You could do better. If you were walking 5 or 6 days a week, 20 minutes, and you don't do it now, guess what you're going to be in 6 months? What's the word? Younger than you are today. Now, if you don't change anything, you're going to die when you're going to die. There is a direct relationship between the strength in your legs and how long you're going to live. There's also a direct relationship with what does it take for you to get off the floor? How many things do you need touching the floor for you to be able to get up off the floor? Do you need to do this, then grab this, then grab this, then grab... It's telling you, okay, you're going to live this many years. If you're a football player and you can do that back thing where they just flip up, you can live to 137. You know? But there's a relationship with that. How long does it take you to get up? I hope this is encouraging more than, I don't want to do this. Rule number 7, don't eat after 7:30. No. Why? Why not eat after 7:30? Because you don't need it. But it's fun. That's why we do it. We have a perception we're hungry. Hey, you get to eat in the morning. Okay, there's a gas station coming. That dinner was not your last meal of your life. But I feel hungry now. And it would be fun to eat. What's that? Change it to 7. It's not that you're eating later. It's that you're eating again. If you're the weight you want to be and you're happy, eat whenever you want. And eat whatever you want. Why would I have a rule for you? I used to tell my kids, do what you're supposed to do. We got no rules. You're out at 11 and you're at the Bible study, I'm good with that. No rules. But it's fun. So here's the only question I want you to ask yourself when you're 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, pizza sounds good, pizza rolls, ice cream bar, low-calorie ice cream bar, whatever. It's fun, okay? How much fun do you want to wear? You get to choose. Is it making you happy? Are you happier at your heaviest? Behind every self-destructive thing we do is a lie we believe. You don't need it. Do you know if you go a day without eating that you actually ate? What'd you eat? What you stored? The corn dog from the State Fair 1998. You finally used it today. It was right there. It's been sitting there. Just saying, I'm ready. Put me in, coach. I'm ready. No. Pizza time. We'll get you later. And we eat. We don't allow ourselves to experience the burning of the meals. We're a walking food bank. It's there waiting for us, but it's uncomfortable. It is. That's why I'm like, guys, we need to pray. Ask God to help you. How are you going to be satisfied if food's not satisfying you? Where are you going to get it? And put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. My wife sometimes asks me, she's like, can you help me be accountable? And I always say, no, I don't want to do that. It never is fun for me, and you get mad. But occasionally, she's like, oh, I'm put on 7 pounds. You got to help me. Just help me be accountable. I promise I won't get mad. I'm like, okay. And so there she is, and then she's got the ice cream out, and she's eating it. She kind of looks at me, and I'm like, honey? And she applied this verse, but she put the knife to my throat. I said, honey, the verse says put it to your throat. Don't do accountability while they're eating the ice cream. Try to catch them right when they touch the freezer, but once it's out, it's never good. It's never good accountability time. So what is that saying? You know, we can say, oh, you're misinterpreting it, and sometimes we do. Oh, it doesn't mean that, and sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. Right? Who was it said? It's not what I don't understand in the Bible that bothers me. It's the parts that I do understand. Stop eating. 7:30. Ain't going to hurt you. You don't need it. How much fun you want to wear? Put a knife to your throat. You a man given to appetite? I am. I eat Rice Krispie treats after I've eaten enough. Still want more. Put a knife to your throat. Here we are. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, all good. Evening snack, 2,400,000 calories. There it is. It's not that you're eating late, Timmy. It's that you're eating again. St. Augustine said, to many, total abstinence is easier than perfect moderation. I'm not sure he was talking about food there, but it applies to food there. I'm so thankful that somehow I can sit down and eat a little bitty piece of bread. A lot of people can't do that. You know what they need to do? No bread. If you can't, don't. You don't need to play the game. You know why? Because you're free to say no thank you. I was working with one girl, and let's wrap this up in about 7 minutes. Am I okay to go? Because I know it's already 8. 5 to 7 minutes. And she'd lost 60 pounds. And she went out with her friends. She was doing my program, and they said, hey, It's her birthday. We're going to have cake. She said, I'm going to pass on the cake. You're like, it's once a year. Have some cake. She said, I've lost this much. I want to keep going. I'm not going to have cake. She said, by the way, she said, I've had cake. She said, for 40 years, I've had cake. She said, I've had my cake. How much cake do you need in your lifetime? It reminds me when he said, you were 4 years ahead. Is there a chance you've had your lifetime supply of cake in 40 years? I think there is a chance. Will life be miserable for you? Will it be miserable for you if you pass on dessert? We've got to start asking ourselves, what am I really believing here? Rule number 8, if you settle for food, you'll miss your blessing. How can you settle for food and miss your blessing? Any example? What are we talking about? What blessing might you miss by settling for food? I'm anxious, I'm nervous, it's late, it's fun, I want to eat, so I eat or not eat. What blessing am I missing by going ahead and eating? You might experience guilt that you wouldn't experience. It would be a blessing not to have guilt. Anything else? Is weight loss a blessing? Lost weight. How'd you do it? I didn't settle for food. You could have, but it would have been settling. Wouldn't have been the best. Here's an example. Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his blessing, his birthright, his inheritance. What are we giving up simply by saying, sure, I'll have a second helping? Guys, do not feel condemned if you have a second helping. Just realize you probably didn't need it, and go deal with it. However you want to deal with it. You didn't need it. Do not feel bad if you choose to have dessert, but at least realize, I don't need it. Don't need it to be happy. Don't need it to be fulfilled. Don't need it for nothing. Have it if you want it, but realize you don't need it. And get on with it. You got important things to do in your life beyond caring too much about what you eat or don't eat. But it's going to be a lot easier to do everything you need to do if food doesn't have your number. He fills the hungry with good things. I don't know if I'm interpreting that right here to say stay hungry, but there's something there. Not filling the full with good things. He's filling the hungry with good things. A lot of times I can tell, even me, I go through things and I'm always thinking about how to do this better, and it's like I could just have pizza and margaritas, when you're stressed out. But is that what God said? Hey, if you're really stressed out and your parents are sick and your dog's lost and all this, pizza and margaritas is the answer. And it's like, well, God's saying, hey, I got something for you. You're like, it's okay. I got pizza and margaritas. Well, no, I had a blessing for you. I'm sure you did. I'm sure it was good. But I know pizza and margaritas is good. Do you see what we did? Jesus said it's written, man shall not live by bread alone, but on every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. What happened right before that? He was tempted. 40 days, nothing to eat. You read NIV, you read King James, you read Berea Literal Bible, they all say after 40 days he was hungry. After 40 days, it doesn't say. Those three verses don't say he was hungry pretty soon. 40 days. We're hungry after we miss lunch. And so was he. But there's a different hunger when all the fat's gone off your body because you've been fasting 40 days, and it's called starvation. You'll eat anything. That's when Satan said, why don't you turn the stones into bread? He said, man shall not live by bread alone. I know who I am. I'm Jesus. God is my Father. He sustains me. If I sit here and die, I'm okay. Because it ain't about me eating the bread. And we got to get a little bit of that in us. I'm okay. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I don't feel good. Yeah, I feel like I need to eat. Yeah, I might faint. And people say, I might faint, my blood sugar. I'm like, well, stand around pillars because you don't need to eat. Rule number 9. Gratitude turns what you have into enough. Watch this show Alone. They're out there. They're trying to survive. They got nothing to eat. And it's like a life in a month or 2 months. They're out there. They're trying to see. How many of you have seen that show? Yeah, you need to watch it. and they haven't had anything to eat for like 10 days, and they're trying to catch a fish, and they catch a fish, and tears come down their eyes. They got a few berries, and they caught this fish. They don't have salt. They don't have bread. They don't have chips. They don't have a cookie. I know it's a show, but it's like our lives. Are you thankful for this? This is amazing. It's a fish. You get to eat a fish. Where's that cooked right? Where's the queso? I get it. I want mine cooked right too. There's something about being grateful. There's a sign in the men's room. I know what it says about being grateful. Something like, wake up grateful this morning. Man, if we're grateful, then what we have is enough. Paul again. Somehow he's content. You see where it says well-fed or what? He's learned to be content. The secret of being content when he's what? Hungry. I encourage you to go read that. Find his secret. What's your secret, Paul? Who knows what the next verse is right after that? 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. There's Marie again. She said, started praying before I eat, even a snack. Helps me recenter my focus. Rejoice. Give thanks. 2 ways to get enough. Keep getting more or desire less. Healthy weight can be achieved and maintained by anyone. Well, you don't know me, Joe. I know. But I've been doing this 12 years. I've met people with rods in their backs, diseases, wear a mask because she's got the boy in the plastic bubble disease and is immune to everything, and I'm sitting there like, it's going to be hard for you. You want to lose 100 pounds and you've got diseases that I've never heard of that make you allergic to everything in the world, and you're lucky to be alive, and you want to lose 100 pounds? She can do it. You know how she's going to do it? It's going to be a priority. That's it. That's it. Priority, prayer. Bad news is it does require prayer, plan, and a commitment. It does require that. You're not just going to go away from here and say, well, I'm excited. Yeah, I think I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Not without that. Good news is that's all it takes. Nobody in here needs another degree. You don't need a different boyfriend. You don't need to move. You don't need to be in a warmer climate. You're good. Everybody can do it. If more information was the answer, we'd all be billionaires with perfect abs because we got YouTube. Everything's on there. Do you have what it takes? It will test you. What's in your way? Hunger, disappointment, doubt, McDonald's drive-thru, whatever your favorite thing is. Okay, it's out there. It ain't going anywhere. Surprises. I didn't know this was going to happen. So I want to invite you guys to learn how to implement all of these 10 by doing a 21-day transformation with us. We do them all the time. Every month we do a 21-day transformation. We have an app that you'd have on your phone or iPad. I'm sure some of you came thinking you might want to do that. It's not expensive. I would encourage you at least do one. You can scan this. We've got papers around. Is that right, Gina? Jamie, right? How much weight have you lost doing the program? Would you encourage people to try it for one round, or what would you say? Don't go do something else, or what would you tell? Yeah. Really? Wow. Very simplistic. Lynn, would you want to add anything to that? That's your first name? Lynn? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're kind. Thanks for driving all the way from way far away. We'll go back to the scan as you're leaving. You've got through the weekend. You want to think about this, but we'd love to have you in it. Some of these guys are already committed to the next round. We'd love to have you in there. We don't. About a year ago, I told a couple of ladies that work with me, I said, guys, we're going to stop doing these discounts. It's too confusing. It's too confusing. Keeping track, put codes everywhere. We don't do very many discounts, okay? And I told them on one of the broadcasts I did recently, I said, if somebody wants a discount, go to Vanceburg Christian Church, because that's the next discount. Okay, you're welcome to share this with your friends, but it's not on Facebook, it's not anywhere else, and I'm going to pop it up here again. Gina, where'd you say the sheets are? Just out there, you'll see sheets with that code on there. If you're wondering, well, what in the world are we going to do, Joe? In the plan, we eat from an approved list. You get a list, has everything you can eat on. Normal food, you go to Kroger, you can get it all. Or Safeway, wherever y'all. Where do y'all get your food around here? Safe. We drink some water. Look at these hard things we do. We walk a little. We abide by some simple food boundaries, like 7:30. We have a short daily devotional. A pastor that's lost over 100 pounds did our devotional for us. They're great. We weigh ourselves. Yeah, we face the music. We do. And we stop eating at 7:30. That's the program. I mean, you listen to me a couple of times a week. The price is $89. For you guys, it'll be $71.20. I believe that's 20% off. You'll need to put in the promo code, BCC. You might think, well, I was kind of needing to lose 50 pounds. Well, you see, you got some different you get 20% off of anything you do on there. If you just buy my book, it'll be 20% off. But I'd still get it on Amazon. It's just easier that way. But, and girl that works for me doesn't have to ship it. So, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. When you scan the thing, it'll just take you to my website. If you're a non-techie person, you just need to somehow find this.com. Okay, TrenderJoes.com, and it'll have my stuff on there. But that just takes you to it right away. Is it working for you all? Is it taking you there? Good. All right. I don't want to keep you any longer because I went a little long, but I'm going to hang around a few minutes. If you got questions, I'm sure John and Gina and Lynn and Jamie can help answer questions too. Has anybody else in here been through the program? Okay, yeah. So those would be the ones to ask, or you can come talk to me. I'm not going to do any money transaction here because we want to really keep it all on there if we can. But please get your questions answered. Is there any you feel like would be appropriate for the group that you would want to ask with everybody here? If not, you can just ask afterwards. Guys, thanks so much. And again, you guys that headed it up and did a lot of work to get the word out, I really do appreciate that. God bless you guys. Hope to see a bunch of you on Monday. We start Monday night, 7 o'clock. So you'll just tune in through your phone. You get a link to everything you need. If you can do it live, that's great. If you can't, you can watch recordings of the sessions at your convenience. All right? Get your questions answered. God bless. Thank you so much.